Hello everyone. We are going to learn about limiting reactants in this next part of the unit. Okay. Let me define these three terms: limiting reactant, excess reactants, and theoretical yields, and I'll explain to you what they are. So, the limiting reactant is the reactant in a chemical reaction that determines the amount of product that can actually be made. It's also the reactant that gets completely used up. That means there will be none of it left at the end of the chemical reaction. Look at this picture of sandwiches being made, okay? So, based on this picture, each sandwich needs to have two slices of bread, three pieces of luncheon meat, and one slice of cheese. I know that you can make sandwiches with any different combination of this, but for this specific example, each sandwich needs to have two slices of bread, three pieces of lunch meat, and one slice of cheese. Okay, so the reactants that we have, or the groceries that we are able to acquire, is six slices of bread, 12 pieces of lunch meat, and five slices of cheese. So, if each sandwich must have two slices of bread, from six slices of bread, we can make three sandwiches. Okay, so we can make three sandwiches um, if you had six slices of bread, right? If you have 12 pieces of lunch meat, and if each sandwich should have three pieces of lunch meat, 3 times 4 is 12. So, with 12 pieces of lunch meat, we should technically be able to make four sandwiches, right? I have 5 slices of cheese. If each sandwich is only supposed to have one slice of cheese, then with 5 slices of cheese, I should be able to make 5 sandwiches, technically, right? But look at the actual number of sandwiches that I'm able to make. I can make only 3 sandwiches because the slices of bread are limiting the total number of sandwiches I can make. Okay, so the number of sandwiches that can be made is only 3 because we only have enough bread to make sandwiches, 3 sandwiches. Okay, so the bread is our limiting grocery item. Okay, the excess grocery items are lunch meat and cheese. We have 3 leftover pieces of lunch meat and we have 2 leftover slices of cheese. So, in terms of the chemistry vocabulary here, I'll use the same colors. The limiting reactant is the bread. Okay, the excess reactants are the cheese and the luncheon meat. So this is in excess. Both of these reactants are excess reactants. Okay, and the theoretical yield of sandwiches is 3. So this is the theoretical yield of sandwiches that can be made. So limiting reactant determines the amount of product that can be formed. So the limiting reactant is the bread. It determines the amount of sandwiches that can be made. The stuff that's left over are the excess reactants, and the amount of product that's actually formed is called the theoretical yield, and in this case it's the 3 sandwiches. Okay, so now let's look at it in terms of chemistry. Here is a reaction represented in a diagram. Let's actually write down the reactants and products involved using chemical formulas. Okay, so over here it says 3 nitrogen molecules are reacting. So I'm going to write a balanced equation though. I'm going to write nitrogen plus hydrogen is forming ammonia. Now let's balance this up. You have 2 hydrogens and 3 hydrogens, so this is going to be 3, this is going to be 2, um, and now it's balanced. Okay, so look at a balanced chemical equation and let's try to match it to the diagram. Based on the balanced chemical equation, I need one molecule of nitrogen. Okay, I need one molecule of nitrogen. That means this will get used up, and I will need 3 molecules of hydrogen. This gets used up, this gets used up, this gets used up. Remember the reason that there are 2 atoms and then N2 and H2 are written as N2 and H2 is because they're part of Brinkelhoff. They're diatomic elements, okay? So I will be using up 1 molecule of nitrogen and 3 molecules of hydrogen, and then I will end up with 2 molecules of ammonia, and I do have that. Okay, I have 1 molecule here and 1 molecule here because ammonia has 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogen atoms attached together. Those are my ammonia molecules. Okay, but look at this diagram. I have more than what I need of the nitrogen. Based on the equation, I should only be using up 1 molecule of nitrogen, but I have 3 molecules of nitrogen for the reaction, which means this molecule and this molecule, they're going to be left over as excess reactants. Okay, so this is left over after the reaction. So let's figure out what our limiting reactant is. What is the thing that is limiting the number of ammonia molecules that can be made? And what is the reactant that is being completely consumed in the reaction? It's hydrogen. Hydrogen is my limiting reactant, and nitrogen is my excess reactant. Okay, this is my excess reactant, and the amount of ammonia that I can actually produce is 2 molecules or 2 moles of ammonia, and that is my theoretical yield. So if I react 1 mole of nitrogen and 3 moles of hydrogen, I'm going to get 2 moles of ammonia. But in the diagram, I've reacted 3 moles of nitrogen and 3 moles of hydrogen and still got 2 moles of ammonia because hydrogen is completely being consumed, and that's my limiting reactant. Okay, the way you recognize the limiting reactant is by figuring out what is the reactant that is determining the amount of products that's made. In this particular case, it's hydrogen. Okay, in this diagram. So hydrogen is the limiting reactant, nitrogen is the excess reactant, and the amount of ammonia that can be theoretically produced is 2 molecules, and that is the theoretical yield.